We're continuing our coverage of the end of the WGA strike now. Staff writer from the Anchor, Elaine Low. Elaine, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
To me, it looks like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that there are about 4 takeaways that people can look at this deal and see. There's more pay for the writers, streaming bonuses, there's AI protections, and minimum staffing.
Yeah, that's right. And, I think there was the expectation that the writers would get some of what they were looking for. But I think this was surprising in that the writers got a great deal of what they were looking for 146 days into the strike. There were some issues that the studios, according to the Guild, hadn't even wanted to engage on, including AI protections, and ultimately came around to what the writers were looking for there.
So there's some surprises.
Yes, definitely some surprises. Those were the 4 major ones, and a great deal more, improved payment schedules for film writers, that kind of thing. Some smaller incremental gains as well, but those are the big ones, like you said, especially when it comes to, staffing minimums, having a minimum number of writers in a room, on a TV show.
And Elaine, can you focus a little bit more on the changes when it comes to residual pay, which was, of course, a big issue when it comes to watching streaming platforms and changing how we consume what they write?
Right. So one thing that I'd heard from writers time and again over the last 146 days is that the residuals they received on streaming weren't enough for them to subsist as a writer in an expensive city like LA. And so in addition to that, now there's something called a success-based residual, which is essentially if a show is performing really well, then there's a bonus added on top of that, which helps to offset some of the current streaming residual structure. Writers are very happy about that. And on top of that, there's an element of data transparency because that involves, the studios offering a certain amount of information on viewership, which is something that they were initially loath to do.
It's interesting because I think the streaming situation is something a lot of us who consume television weren't really that aware of that was impacting the writers. Another thing to me was what you were just talking about, the minimum staffing issue as we've moved towards this streaming world, is that sometimes you need more writers in the room. There's less opportunity is what they were saying as we've moved to this streaming area. So what does this do for the writers?
Well, when you look at streaming shows, think about how many streaming shows you've seen. Are they usually long or short seasons? They're usually, 6 to 10 episodes, right? If you were watching a broadcast sitcom on CBS or ABC before, that would have been 22 to 24 episodes. So the way that writers work these days is so different. There are shorter jobs, and there's a longer time between jobs, which means instead of being able to work on one sitcom for the entire year and have that be your full-time job, writers tell me, oh, I'd work on a 6-episode show, and then there would be months and months between jobs. And, so just the streaming economy has really so disrupted the way they work that they felt it was necessary for there to be compensation changes in addition to that in order for it to be a sustainable profession. And that's really kind of the undercurrent of what they were looking for, how to make this continue to be a sustainable profession in an expensive city.
Yeah. Elaine Low, thank you for being with us. You've covered it from day one to the last event where Drew Carey was buying pie. You were able to get a slice of the pie.
Yeah, I bought a whole pie from Bob's Big Boy Diner after I'd interviewed, writers who were getting meals comped by Drew Carey, who has spent, by the way, last I checked, up to $600,000 on free writers, on meals for writers, during the strike, because it's just been such a hard time on folks during the work stoppage.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
We appreciate that. All right.